Stephen, greetings from Albany. Just wanted to ask you, does this game coming up, the Albany game, does it have any, what added meaning does it have, if any, being your hometown school?
Yeah, honestly, not too much. It really is just it's our next game, and I mean the game just has a lot of meaning for our season and where we're at right now. We're all just super focused on getting the win on Thursday, regardless of who the opponent is.
Roshan?
Stephen, I wanted to ask about Jacob. Do you remember what his reaction was, or if he told you anything when they first announced those face-off rule changes back in June, I believe?
I'm not sure what his initial reactions were because we weren't at school together at that time.
Got you. Okay. But I guess like obviously the face-off guys are kind of going through some adversity here, a bit of a rough patch. Like how have you seen them respond in the past week at practice?
Those guys are focused. Those guys are working on what they need to work on. They're working with Coach Tommy. So, I mean, I expect that they're going to do great this week, and they've been grinding at practice. So, we all have confidence in them that they're going to do well.
Mike McAdam?
Hey, Stephen, Mike McAdam from the Daily Gazette. Your first 3 years at Syracuse, your stats kind of leaned more toward the assist side, and they're slightly more on the goal side this year. How much is that by design, and how much of it is just kind of circumstantial, the way the games have played out?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the way the games have played out. I think over the past couple of years of my career, I've more so been known as a feeder by the other team. So people haven't been sliding as much to me recently, just because if they slide off me, then I can feed people. So I've just found that teams have been slower to slide now and kind of forcing me to become a scorer. So I've just been trying to take advantage of some of the opportunities there. And I've been able to shoot the ball pretty well so far this season. So hopefully I can keep that up and just kind of make the most of the chances that the other defense is going to give me.
Just to follow up off of what Mark was asking, but how much did you follow the Albany program when you were growing up, and did you go to games, and what are some of your impressions of what their program has been doing?
Yeah, obviously a great program. They've had a lot of success over the recent years. I think I probably followed them the most when the Thompson brothers were there and when Lyle was there. I was a huge Lyle fan. Honestly, don't really think I went to too many games just because my high school season would overlap with it, or I was going to my sister's games whenever I was free to go. So really didn't spend too much time around the program. Don't have much of a relation or connection to the program at all, other than just that I live pretty close by.
Thanks.
Lindsay?
Hey, Steve, and I got kind of a bigger picture question for you. This is the last game before 3 straight tough ACC games will go a long way towards shaping what the tournament seeding looks like. This year, there's a little bit of uncertainty with the tournament, how many teams exactly will be in it, where first-round sites will be. But the key is, getting the highest seed as possible. I'd like your thoughts as to where you think you guys are heading into this home stretch, and kind of what's out there the next 3 or 4 weeks you guys are kind of targeting out there.
Not really looking ahead that far. Not really worth it to stress about kind of where you'll end up with that stuff. So, I mean, really the focus is just on Thursday right now. Had a good practice today. We'll have another practice tomorrow morning, and then be ready to play come Thursday night.
Okay, thanks.
Mark Larson, and then Mark Singelis again.
Hey, Stephen, just want to ask you where you think the team is at mentally, considering you came into the season with such high hopes and expectations, and now you're sitting at 4-3. I know it's not where you thought you'd be or want to be. How are you guys kind of dealing with that?
Those hopes or expectations haven't changed. We still know what we're capable of. Everyone's on the same page, just really focusing on ourselves and what we can do to get better. We lost to a good Army team, lost on the road to Duke by 1. They're number 1 right now. That game could have gone either way, and then had a tough one this weekend, but we've still got that confidence. We know what we're capable of, and it's no time to be freaking out.
I wanted to follow up quick about talking about the face-offs and how frustrating is it for an offensive player to kind of sit and watch the ball go the other way so many times, and how do you kind of keep yourself mentally ready?
I mean, when you're in the game, if you're on the field, you better be ready at all times. So it's not too hard to remain focused. And honestly, just from an offensive perspective, just controlling what we can control once we get the ball, try and make the most of it. And like I said earlier, we have confidence in our face-off guys, and I know they'll turn it around.
Thanks, Stephen.
Mark?
Stephen, you mentioned your sisters. Abby was talking about how much she respected the fact that you had so much confidence in yourself, even when you were late. You were an undersized kid in high school, didn't get recruited, and even after things didn't work out at Holy Cross. How did you keep that confidence in yourself and believe that you were going to be a top-notch player, even when maybe things weren't going well for you?
Yeah, I knew how much work I had put in throughout my entire life, and how much I appreciated the game and paid attention to the game and just worked on my game all the time. Was like growing up, I would be watching players all the time, watching teams, and I knew I was capable of playing at that level. I just needed to get my shot. So it was a frustrating process throughout all of high school and my freshman year at Holy Cross. But I really just kept that confidence, and also got that confidence, and that was instilled in me by my family and by my parents and my sisters. But really just stems from the amount of time and effort that I put into the game as a whole.
Arrow?
Hey, Stephen. I had a chance to talk with your high school coach, Sean Hennessy, last week, and he was kind of saying how, I guess, like, impactful you were to that program and still are. I guess, what does that mean to you, and how much, do you still try and give back to that Shaker program?
Yeah, I've talked with Coach Hennessy a lot since my career ended there. Whenever I'm home, I'll try, and this break I shot with a couple of younger kids, and I think it's nice for the kids at Shaker to kind of have someone to look up to that plays at a level like Syracuse. I know like a school like Niskuna always had guys that were playing at UNC, UVA, Duke, Hopkins, like a bunch of those schools. But I know for myself at Shaker, I never really had anyone to look up to from Shaker itself. So I think that's nice for those younger guys to kind of have that connection. And it's something I definitely wish that I had, but I'm happy that I can be it for them.
And then I had a chance to talk with Willie last week, and he was kind of saying that when you guys first came in, both as transfers, it was maybe a little bit intimidating for you guys kind of stepping into that Syracuse locker room. What's that transition been like for you to kind of becoming one of the leaders now in that locker room?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, looking back, probably, 5 years ago, coming in, and it was guys like Evan Malloy, Nick Mariano, Sergio Saucedo, Paulo Safari, Joe Gillis. They're all seniors or fifth years. They're already well-established players in college lacrosse. I had been watching them for years. And I mean, definitely to come into Syracuse is very intimidating, especially coming from a place like Holy Cross here. It's a very different program, very different for obvious reasons. But it's been a cool journey to kind of just see how my role and how my mindset has kind of progressed from once being intimidated by it to then kind of being such a part of it. So it's definitely it's really cool to look back on it. And I'll talk about it with Willie or with Bradley Voigt, stuff like that. Other guys my age, and just kind of your progression that you go through in your career here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Andrew, then Brian.
Hey, Stephen, I want to ask about the Albany defense and what you remember about them the past 3 times you played Albany. I think it was 2 years ago they held you guys to 3 goals. And then also how you've seen the defense kind of evolve throughout the season with Liam coming from Utah in net, and kind of what he adds to the defense.
Yeah, thinking back, I don't think we didn't play Albany last year, so I haven't seen them in a while. My freshman year, I didn't play too much against them. I think I maybe got in for like 1 run, and then my sophomore year is when we got blown out at home by them. They had the ball a lot. I remember that they're just we were running different offense back then, but they're a very packed in defense. I watched a little bit of their game versus UMass earlier this year, but to be honest, this week we really have just been focusing on ourselves and what we can improve. and haven't been putting too much emphasis on, at least offensively, haven't been putting too much emphasis on what they're doing. Obviously, we know different like sets will run or their slide packages, but really just been focusing on ourselves.
Thank you.
Brian, and then Mark again.
Hey, Steven, I'm curious, what have you seen? How have you seen Owen progress throughout the year, and what kinds of things is he doing, this early in his career that has allowed him to be so successful?
Yeah, I think he's one of our smartest players. So obviously he's got the skill and the athleticism to be great, but I think the way he sees and analyzes the game from a mental standpoint is really what sets him apart. He doesn't play like a freshman because of the way he thinks about the game, and I think stuff that he sees, it takes people a long time to see, like in their career. They won't notice it till like junior or senior year, but he's got such high lacrosse IQ that I think it separates him from a lot of people.
Thank you.
Mark.
Hey, Steve, and I understood you were kind of getting into the family business after the season's over, the law school, Albany Law, and I wonder what you're going to do with that.
Yeah, I'll be going to Albany Law after. Here I'll be starting there in the fall. I've had a bunch of people in my family. I think I'll be like the 9th person within my like extended family, and then my dad went there, and my two older sisters went there as well.
What kind of law do you think you'll practice?
I'm not sure at this point.